What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Melanin Money Show. And today we have a really special guest. And guys, listeners, this is just so you know ahead of time, because I don't want to, overpromise and underdeliver. This is really going to be a conversation that y'all just get to listen to because we all got questions.
This ain't about
y'all.
y'all.
We all got all the questions for Julia, right? And so Julia's actually OG. So for those who don't know, when Pocket Advisor first launched in January of 2021, I connected with Julia on Instagram. I guess it had to be, right? The power of the internet. Yeah. I was like, yo, you're cool. And you talk about really fun stuff. And I think our community could benefit from this. And she obliged and ultimately was one of the OG original content creators for what is now known as the Melanin Millionaires Club. So Julia has been providing game for the longest. Her and Jacqueline did a joint class. It was like probably middle of last year or something, and just time flies. But anyways, more of the story is we love Julia and we had to get her on the podcast. We're supposed to do this like last September at a financial conference, but nonetheless, we are here and we are excited. And I'm actually glad that we're doing it now because, right? Before we got on this podcast, we just glanced into her Instagram and we're like, well, who is this person with 160,000 followers and all the consistent reels? And it's funny because she'll, say such gracious things like we're her inspiration or mentors or whatever she says. I'm looking, I'm like, what are you talking about? What's that movie? I'm the captain now.
Yeah, right. We love to see it. We love to see it.
Yeah. And I love the growth. And we're going to talk about all things, on this podcast. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about just how you're able to leverage this credit card reward system. I mean, it's very fascinating.
Understand it. I'm good at math.
It's so fascinating. I'm like,
well, welcome, Julia.
Real audio when you like when it's like the calculator sound and you calculate. I'm trying to.
Remember when not to go on a tangent. Julia. We want you to introduce yourself. But remember, like when I thought like booking points through like the website was like what you're supposed to do. Like that's amateur hour, bro. Like what are you doing? So Julia, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, and we'll take it from there.
Hey everybody, my name is Julia. I'm the host of the Geo Breeze Travel Podcast. I also run the Geo Breeze Travel Instagram account where I teach people to travel for next to no cost on points and miles. And I know a lot of listeners here are entrepreneurs and business owners, so that gets you some access to some next level tricks that we're going to talk about today, because that's really the way to get a ton of free travel, especially business class travel, first class travel, super fancy hotels that you don't have to pay for. You just pay your bills like normal and then you get to travel for free.
You're speaking my love language.
Talking spicy and speaking my love language. All right, so to Carter, to your point, I had a very similar experience. I was like, well, yeah, I got my Amex Platinum and I spend money on it and I get points. And she was like, that's cool. I mean, but then apparently there's a whole other universe, right? So today we are going to learn how it's done. So Julia, if you could please just like, again, I know you've done this probably several times, but like, how did you even get introduced to the world of rewards points and points travel? Just let us know how you got into this whole space.
Is you in the hubs, right?
Sorry?
Is you in the hubs, right?
Yeah, my husband's in it too. So he came home from work one day and was like, hey, somebody at work was talking about this thing called FIRE, like Financial Independence, Retire Early. You might like these blogs. He was not aware of how deep I was going to dive in 2017 when I was like, so I read all of the blogs and now we have to set up our index funds and now we have to do all this. So that got us on the path to financial independence. And as I was reading through all these blogs, there were people claiming that they were traveling for next to no cost, just using credit card rewards points. And my first reaction was the same as most people's first reactions, which is, this is a scam. Like, these people are getting scammed because they're applying for all of these credit cards and getting points and using them to travel for free. But that has to have some like really bad consequences for these people, right? But the more that I researched it, as long as you follow 2 simple rules, then you're gonna be fine. So rule number 1, make sure that you are paying off all of your credit card bills in full every month, preferably automatically. That way, you don't have to pay any interest on these cards. Don't do this hobby if you are not in a position yet to pay off all of your bills in full. If so, go to one of the other episodes about how to become financially independent, all of those things. This game is for people who can pay off their bills in full every month. Just think of it as a debit card, except you have 30 days to pay it instead of having to pay it on the spot. So that's rule number 1. Set up your payments automatically in full every month. Rule number 2, do not buy random things that you do not want or need just to earn more points. Don't look at a coat and be like, oh, that's a cute $500 coat that I don't need, but I want 500 points. Don't do that. Instead, we're going to talk about some strategies for how you can level up your points game really quickly, just by doing some strategic timing of things rather than just spending money that you don't have.
Fascinating. So, Carter, I bet you can resonate with this as our resident tax expert, because there's so many different tax strategies that people can leverage. But I'm imagining one of the things you tell people is like, hey, look, don't just do conservation, easement, or all this stuff if you're not actually going to benefit from it. Because sometimes some of these strategies, some of the things you can do, it ends up being that, as they say, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, if you will, right?
So I know one. I know one. Going to buy a vehicle that you can write off, but you didn't actually make any money in your business, so you don't even.
It's like off. The simplest thing I tell people: don't spend $1 to save 40 cents, right? Like, if you have a 40% tax rate, don't spend $1. You still spent the $1. And to Julia's point, like, number 1, as the Melanin Money show, we want to let everybody know to use credit. If you're going to use credit card, make sure you have the money to pay it off. And number 2, like, don't spend money that you don't have just to get points. And I'm kind of guilty of doing that, because I'm like, if I buy this, it's a 2x. I don't really need it. But so thank you for clarifying that for me. Okay, so we got the basic 2 steps now, right? And I think we're all okay. We all good there, right? We know with the Melanin Money crew, we all got the 2 down.
Check.
Now, what's up?
No, she said check.
Okay, check. Cool. So now, how do we take it to the next level? Because I'm looking at your page. I see 54x. You just left the country, you didn't pay anything, right? You and your husband, right?
Yeah, we went to Greece. Our business class flights were covered by points. So we transferred American Express points, flew Air Canada on the way there in business class, flew Turkish Airlines in business class on the way back. All of our hotels were paid for with points or free night certificates. And a lot of people think that the way to get status is, oh, are you staying in hotels all of the time? Are you flying all the time to get these statuses? But the way that you get most of your points is going to be through credit card spend. And most of those points are going to come from the sign-up bonus on the credit card. So most credit cards are going to have an offer that says earn 50,000 points, 60,000 points, some number of points if you spend a certain amount of minimum spend in the first 3 months. So some offers might be something like earn 80,000 points if you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months of having the card open. For most people, that's where the majority of your points are going to come from. So every quarter or so, you're just going to open a new card, meet the sign-up bonus, stick that in the drawer, and then go on to a next card and just rotate through every few months to get these sign-up bonuses. That being said, we'll get into it later of do you ever close cards and what do you do with all of these after you just stick them in a drawer? But if you're just going for 2 to 4 cards a year at a steady pace, you will earn enough points for most people to just travel and get a couple really, really nice vacations for free just from earning, 200,000 points, 250,000 points a year. That can go really, really far for free travel.
Do you know what's perfect about that in my mind? 2 really nice vacations. For anybody who is working a job, you only get 2.5 weeks of vacation anyways. So to be able to leverage this free option to get a completely paid nice vacation, why would you not take the opportunity?
Absolutely.
Right. So my question comes from I think where people get a little bit intimidated is without context, right? You hear, get these points, transfer them here, do this, check this, get this card. So what is your system in your process for keeping up with all this, right? And can you demystify the complexity of it? Because I know some people are like, well, I'm gonna do is just spend my card, and whatever the current credit card company offers me, I'm gonna try to use that, and that's gonna be that, right? And honestly, that's been me. Amex Platinum is my travel card of choice, and has some pretty good rewards. And I've never transferred points anywhere other than just using the points that I have eligible and tapping the Amex travel tab or rewards tab and seeing what I can get, right? So can you kind of demystify this for us, and then also like share your system, if you don't mind, with how you just keep up with all this stuff?
What's going on, guys? My name is George Acheampong.
I'm Jacqueline Shattuck.
And I'm Carter Cofield.
And we are the founders of Melanin Money. And the reason why we started Melanin Money is because we know that there's a great disparity when it comes to building wealth among people of color. We have a tremendous mission that we want you guys to join, right? Every single year, we want to help at least 1,000 people improve their net worth by $100,000, which will create $100 million of new Black wealth every single year.
Can you imagine $100 million of new Black wealth every year? As it stands right now, for every $1 that a white family has, a Black family has a mere 10 cents to match that dollar. We want to increase the wealth in the Black community so that we can have equal opportunities.
Simply put, we're about closing the wealth gap, and it starts with you.
So see you inside.
Good. So a lot of people will get a lot of different ads and a lot of different mailers sent to them being like, oh, get this Hilton card and get this Amex card, get this Chase card. And it's all very confusing. And then people do what I call shiny card syndrome, where you just apply for 5 different cards and then suddenly you have points in a whole bunch of different currencies and you can't combine them into anything cool. Don't do that. You want to work backwards. So instead of starting with the cards, start with what's the travel you actually want to do for free. And then from there, you're going to research, okay, who even flies from my home airport to that city or that country? Like, what airlines are doing that? And how much does it cost to fly that in points? And what kind of points do I need? So maybe you're going to need some Chase points. Maybe it's Capital One. Maybe it's Amex. Maybe it's Citi. So working backwards that way and then being like, okay, I need 200,000 points to fly my family on this vacation. I'm going to need some American Express points, or I'm going to need some Capital One points. Let's work backwards and see which of the American Express transferable points cards or Capital One transferable points cards are running good promos or good bonuses right now. And let that determine what cards you apply for, rather than just clicking on whatever they send to you in your mailbox.
Got it. So you reverse engineer where you want to go, what you want to do, and then from there, you can start to back into, like, to your point, like the airline that travels to that destination from your, okay, that makes sense. Now, I guess my other question is, that's a great strategy. But are there any, and maybe it's kind of like how I look at investing. I'm not married to any one company. I like the companies that are going to be profitable and be successful. And then when they're no longer serving me, I'll sell them. Right. But like in the cards rewards games, is it kind of the same thing? Are there like some go-to cards? It's like you always want to have like these 4 cards. They're always going to be really great. Or is it just kind of like you just from year to year determine what you want to do? Those are the cards you use, and that's all that matters.
So I generally recommend starting with a Chase Sapphire Preferred for a couple reasons. One, Chase has something called the 5/24 rule, which means if you've applied for 5 or more cards in the last 24 months, they will just reject your next application. So a lot of people will grab 5 Chase cards before moving on to Amex, Citi, Capital One, because you can grab 5 Chase cards, then move forward. But if you do it backwards, where you grab 5 non-Chase cards and then try to go to Chase, they're going to reject you. So start with your Chase cards first, and then the Chase Sapphire cards are what we call gateway cards. You can combine points from a lot of different Chase cards that would normally just be cash back. So Chase Freedom Flex, Chase Freedom Unlimited. You can pool all of those into a Chase Sapphire account and use all of it for travel, because the travel points are going to be much more useful and valuable to you rather than just cash back, which is about 1 cent per point. If you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, you can use it in the portal to get 1.25 cents per point. If you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you can get 1.5 cents a point for value. But the real value is really when you leverage the different transfer partners of different airlines and hotels with the different credit cards. Then you're going to get like 4 cents per point, 10. If you're doing one of those first class things, it's like 20 cents per point sometimes. So you can get some really, really good value by leveraging transfer partners.
Okay, so this is where I get confused. So we just went from like algebra to calculus real quick, right? This is where, like, personally for me, I hit the button of, this is too complicated, I'm gonna just pay extra money, right? And I don't think it needs to be like that. So you mentioned something that's very vital. You know, when you do cash back for cars, that's dollar for dollar, right? So if you get 125, that's $125, like whatever. But there are ways that if you use points within the portal of that respective credit card, you get more than just dollar for dollar, correct?
If you use the portal, so for Chase, it's still going to be a set value that you're getting. It's just slightly more. You're going to get 1.25 cents instead of just 1 cent per point, but it's still going to be a locked in value, because when you use the portal, it looks just like if you were to book through Expedia, except they're charging you points instead of money. And it's still just a multiplier for them. Where it varies and you can get a lot more value is once you start looking at different transfer partners.
Talk about that.
And so, how do you find, so how do you even know how to find the transfer partners, right?
Yeah. So there's a web page out there.
And you can listen to it at any time, Carter. Just
There's a web page out there. It's called the Thrifty Traveler Master Transfer Partner List. And so they'll say, okay, if you're Chase, here's all of the places you can transfer to. You can do United, Southwest, JetBlue, Iberia, British Airways, all of these different partners. If you have Amex points, you can transfer to ANA is the main one I use, or Air Canada, or Etihad. All of these transfer to Emirates. And so you can look at each flexible currency and see what you can use all of those for. You can also Venn diagram it backwards, where you're like, okay, I need some Singapore points. Which cards give me Singapore points? Good news is pretty much all of them will transfer to Singapore Airlines. So that's how you figure out who can even go where. And then the next step, once you're like, okay, here's the map, then you want to figure out which of these map connections is actually valuable to use, because sometimes it'll transfer to an airline that like doesn't go anywhere. If something transfers to Egypt Air, I hear that's not the best airline product, so you don't even want to fly that one. So just by reading different blogs, following different points, influencers, listening to some of the different stories on the GeoBreeze Travel podcast, you're going to learn which of the products people actually want to fly, and then you can reverse engineer from there. A few of them people really like. Singapore Suites or Singapore Business Class. Emirates is super popular. Q Suites on Qatar is really popular. And JetBlue Mint is one of the best, nicest ways to fly across the US transcontinentally from California to New York. So those are some that people really like, and there's a ton of hotels too. But that's where you start to get a lot of value, and people focus on the airlines a ton. I actually get a lot more value out of hotels sometimes.
Do you have a master list that asking for a friend that I can pay for? So I can just like, you said the map, I'm like, that's dope. If I know like, yo, you know, my Amex goes from 1 point here to 10 points at, you know, Emirates, like, bet, I know that. Do you like, if you don't already have something we can pay for, one, you need to create it because it will make you a lot of money. And two, I'll be your first purchaser.
As far as just like that whole map, it's free. It's available on the internet. I didn't make it. Thrifty Traveler made it, and Upgraded Points has one too. And yeah, it's just like, hey, what kind of points are you working with? How many do you have? And some of them don't transfer 1-to-1. Like for example, city points will transfer to Choice Hotels at a 1-to-2 ratio. So if you have 80,000 city points, that's 160,000 Choice Hotel points, which by the way, are way nicer in Europe and Asia. When you think of Choice Hotels in the US, you're like, oh, do I even want to stay there? They're much nicer in other countries.
Right, we'll get that link from you added to the show notes.
Sounds good.
Okay, and it's so fascinating because like even like I'm like super basic rewards guy, right? But like when I use Amex and I book Kimpton, where we stayed at in Miami most recently, like if you book it through Amex Fine Resorts, whatever it's called, like I get like free breakfast on both days, and I get like $100 credit at the hotel, and just like all this like little stuff that you just wouldn't get if I just would have booked it with another credit card or my debit card or whatever the case may be. And so it's just like, it's super fascinating. But my question now is to those people who, because you mentioned being immersed in the FIRE movement and reading all the blogs, right? Mm-hmm. To those people who would say like, who are maybe novices or don't understand this, like, well, credit cards are bad and like you shouldn't use them. Obviously, you've already explained and demystified that, but like, what would you say to those people who are just nervous? They're just like, I don't want to just be getting credit cards. I might end up messing things up, or it might impact my credit. Like, what would you say to those people who are intrigued, but just a little on edge? Because like you said, when you first get introduced to it, it's like, is this a scam, right? Like, what would you say to those people?
start slow. You're going to see a lot of people like me who have more than 20 credit cards. That did not happen in 1 year. That's over multiple years. So if you are curious, start with one card. And also a good tip is to apply for that card right before you have a big spend that's coming up anyway. If you are remodeling your kitchen or have a down payment for your car or a tuition payment or something like, or a wedding, if you have a wedding coming up, your honeymoon could be free just by doing this.
That's a bar. And people miss that. That's a bar.
Yeah.
If you have a wedding coming up, you can get a credit card, pay for the whole wedding with that card, use the points to get your honeymoon for free.
Yeah, free honeymoon.
I'm cheap. That's what's happening with me. Just to be honest.
Yeah. So if you
feel to be whoever you are, honeymoon's already taken care of.
Carter, you need to tell us something?
Chill out. We're not going there right now. This is not.
What's going on, guys? I'm George.
I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Carter.
And we are your money mentors. But today we wanted to talk to you about a really special feature, Financial Flicks. Can you imagine an entire on-demand library of financial content across 3 main categories: wealth building, entrepreneurship, and personal finance, so that you can take your finances to the next level?
Guys, when you replace entertainment with education, your life will change forever. Imagine replacing 1 hour of Netflix with 1 hour of Financial Flicks. Imagine how much further that could take you to your financial destination. And we have the perfect library for you.
Yeah, so if you're ready to Financial Flicks and chill with us to put more of your energy into education, then join us in the club. We can't wait to see you there.
See you there.
Exclusive.
So if you open the card right before a large planned spend anyway, then you don't have to think of, okay, well, how am I going to spend $3,000 in 3 months? And you don't want to be the person who has to end up buying $1,000 worth of junk on Amazon just to meet your minimum spend and get your points. If you're just opening the card before $3,000 you have to spend anyway, then you get free points. And yeah, weddings are generally more than $3,000, so you can actually do this across multiple cards. If you can like spread your payments out over through the whole year, then you're like, okay, like $3,000 budgeted for like January through March, and then you open another card and you're like, okay, like this $3,000 of wedding expenses are going to hit us in March through June. So then you can budget it out that way and pre-plan when you're going to apply for your cards and how you're going to pay them off. So then it also does not feel nearly as overwhelming to get into the game.
Got it. Quick question for you. So how does applying for these cards impact your credit? Because some people might assume, right, that you're applying for multiple credit cards, going to ding your credit, bring your credit down. But I mean, I understand credit, so I understand how it all plays out. But to the person who's wondering, like, I would love to do this, but I don't want to mess up my credit score. What is your personal experience with that, or just your knowledge on that in general?
Yeah, so when you apply for a credit card, you're going to do a hard pull on your credit, so your score is going to go down a little bit. If you do the first 2 rules that we talked about at the beginning, so you're paying everything off in full, then the biggest section of your credit score, which is your credit payment history, 35%, you're going to get an A+ there. So it's going to bounce right back up. And as you get more and more of these cards, your credit score is actually going to go way up because of a concept called utilization, which is the total amount of credit that you are using divided by the total amount of credit that you have. If you are applying for a lot of these credit cards and you're keeping your normal expenses in check, like you're not just buying more stuff because you have more credit cards, as long as you're like still spending like a normal person, but your amount of total credit available is going up because that denominator is going up, your utilization percentage goes down, so your credit score goes up. So my credit score hovers around 800 most of the time, just because.
Credit cards, 800. What a flex!
Yeah,
like 800. You know,
That's crazy. You know,
just hovers around.
it hovers.
Yeah.
So business credit is a really hot topic right now. If y'all are out here in these wealth building streets, then you know business credit is like the big push right now. So when it comes to business credit versus personal credit, are you dealing with anything in the business credit realm? Do you teach people how to kind of mesh the two, or what's your opinion there?
So there is a bit of a difference between business credit and business credit cards. And I tend to deal more with business credit cards rather than getting a line of credit from your bank or anything else like that. So with business credit cards, this is where you can really up your game super fast, because this is where the big sign-up bonuses are. Most of the personal ones are going to be like 50,000 points, 60,000 points, maybe up to 100,000. Business credit cards, you're getting 75,000 points, 150,000 points, 100,000 points. So this is where big bonuses come into play. The minimum spend is a little higher for these. So it does take a little bit more planning, where you might get 150,000 points, but you have to spend $15,000. So definitely have a plan for that. Don't just jump in and be like, oh, I'm going to get this credit card. Oh my God, I have to spend $15,000. Like, do not suddenly spend $15,000 if you don't have it. Don't just go buy a small car or something that you had no chance, that you had no plans of buying. That being said, there are a few business credit cards that are really good for people who are getting started with this. So Chase Inc. Business Cash has no annual fee, and you get 5 points per dollar on internet, cable, phone, office supply stores. So there's a couple tricks with this. One, once you have this, call Chase and ask them to consolidate your business and personal accounts. That way, one, you only have to deal with one login and password, so it's less annoying. Two, you can transfer points from your Chase Inc. Business Cash to your Chase Sapphire Preferred account and use all of that for travel. Otherwise, the Chase Inc. Business Cash is a cashback only card, but if you consolidate your stuff, you can pool all those points and use them for better travel. So that's one cool trick. The second cool trick is gift cards. So if people are like, well, I need to go buy some business stuff from, I don't know, like you have to get your car done at AutoZone or something for your business car. And you're like, well, I don't have anything that earns a lot of points. Chase Business Cash earns 5 points per dollar at office supply stores like Staples. Even if you're like, I don't buy that many office supplies, you can go to Staples and buy gift cards to AutoZone or Jiffy Lube or wherever it is you need to get your car serviced. Then you're going to take those and go to the car maintenance place. Now you've just earned 5 points per dollar by adding in that extra step by going to Staples and buying the gift cards, rather than if you had just gone straight to the mechanic. So by leveraging all of these different gift card tricks, you can like quintuple the amount of points that you're earning on any given purchase.
On your way to AutoZone, you can stop at Staples, literally buy $1,000 gift card, then go get your brakes and tire rotation.
Because of the points reward you get for shopping at Staples.
Yo.
What's happening?
I don't know.
So that's one of the cards that's really good. The Chase Inc. Business Unlimited, if everybody was like, well, I just rewound this podcast episode 3 times, I still don't understand what just happened. Chase Inc. Business Unlimited also has no annual fee, also has a really high sign-up bonus, and you just get 1.5 points everywhere. So this is the one where if you're like, I don't want these shenanigans, I just want like a good card that like does pretty well and I don't have to think about it, Chase Inc. Business Unlimited is a good one to get. And for anybody who's listening who does a lot of e-commerce stuff or buys a lot of ads, Chase Inc. Business Preferred earns 3 points per dollar on internet, shipping, and online ads. So if you have, George, the merchandise store, the clothing store, or if you're running a lot of ads for Melanin Money, this one will get you a lot of points really quickly.
Duly noted.
I like it. I like it. So for those, I think for people who are listening who are like, oh, that's a lot of work. Why would I stop? That's too much. I just want the shortcut. I think we need to remind y'all that being poor is really expensive, and building wealth. I've noticed being around my wealthiest of wealthiest friends, they don't actually pay for anything. Like they never pay for anything. They always have some kind of a life hack. Either they know somebody who knows somebody, or they know a trick, or they just have accumulated enough points from like their business or something that it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to pay for anything. So what is your best word of advice to somebody who feels like stuck, like, oh, this is too complicated? I know you said start small, but what is that like one piece of inspiration for somebody who's maybe rewinded this 3 times and is listening to it again, trying to pick it up? What is that one word of inspiration you would give them?
That you don't have to do all of the weird like gift card things right off the bat. Even if you're just getting a sign-up bonus here or there and you're just focused on sign-up bonuses and you're like, all right, well, after I get the sign-up bonus, I'll just stick the card in a drawer and then move on to the next one. Just spend like $5 on it every 6 months to make sure you're not shut down due to inactivity. But if all you can process right now is sign-up bonus, that's all you can deal with for 3 months. And then like 3 months from now, you're like, okay, next sign-up bonus, then that will get you 80-20 rule, that'll get you most of the way. If the only word you get out of this is sign-up bonus.
What's up, guys? Congratulations on joining Team Black Wealth. But we'd be remiss if we didn't give you a uniform as an official player on the team. So head over to shop.melaninmoney.com and grab your official uniform for Wealth Builders of Color. We'll see y'all at practice.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else, right? It's like you go to a conference and you learn, you went in this session and all this and all this. Take away something, right? Don't be paralyzed by all of the possibilities. That's a bar, paralyzed by possibilities. Anyways, don't be paralyzed by all the possibilities and take away one key gem from what she shared, right? And so I have a two-part question for you. Number one, what has been the most epic points experience that you've had so far? Like, oh my gosh, like this was amazing. I can't believe I got this for free. It should be illegal, right? And then two, what is on your bucket list, right? What is the next thing that like, I got my eye on that and I can't wait to be able to experience this for free?
So that whole Greece trip was really nice where we got all of that for free. But what I'm looking forward to, so we're going to Germany in August and we're flying Singapore business on the way there. But on the way back, we're flying Singapore Suites, which is their first class. And by suites, it's like a bedroom. And I will connect my room to my husband's room. So it's like two people's bedrooms. It's like a small apartment on a plane. And they will give you your choice of champagne and caviar. They give you like Lalique brand pajamas, which are apparently like super comfy. And it's supposed to be one of the most luxurious things ever. But I also am really into hotels, actually more than I'm into flying. So we can talk about status in a little bit because you mentioned fine hotels and resorts and different cool things you get with status. But for my husband's birthday, we went to the Park Hyatt, New York, and it was just a staycation. But this probably would have been more than $2,000 if we just paid for it out of pocket. So I had a free night certificate. Because I had status, I got upgraded. It was in this suite and the toilet was one of those fancy Japanese toilets that basically like sings to you and like flushes automatically and like knows when to go up and down. Yeah. And the bed, you had like iPads to control your side. And in the morning, instead of like an alarm clock, it wakes you by like gently like waving you on the bed. And they gave us champagne, and these chocolate covered strawberries were sprinkled with gold foil because that's the level of fancy that they are at the Park Hyatt. And because we had status, we got breakfast for free. So that would have probably been like $50 a person to eat at the Park Hyatt. So that one was really, really nice too. And also this November, we're going to go to the Alila Ventana Big Sur, which is on the California coastline. It retails for $3,000 a night, I think. And we did all this on points. It's all inclusive. And it's just like supposedly the best nature getaway ever. And I applied a suite upgrade to that. So I'm very, very excited for that trip in November.
Wow. Quick question, right? And to Carter's point, if you haven't thought about doing this at some point, maybe you should consider doing it. Are there people that currently exist who like you can somehow give them access to like your credit card stuff and like they will organize it all for you and make sure that your trips and stuff get booked and you maximize your points? Because if that doesn't exist, it should exist. Not to say that people obviously can't do it on their own, but I know people that would pay to have somebody like do that for them, right? Or have an agency or company do this. Maybe in your next stack, if you ever decide to do something like that. I mean, oh my God, like this is blowing my mind. Like a $3,000 a night trip and it's paid for with points. This is crazy. It's almost like you can reverse engineer it. Like you can predict how much money you're going to save people and then your fee is a fraction of the amount of money that you're going to save them if they listen to you.
So now she has to train just listening first before our price goes up. Chill out. Okay. Because
fair enough. Like, I mean, this is just so fascinating. I mean, this is like, you literally save a ton of money, right? When you do this the right way and take the time to understand. I just like people would pay big dollars to like, which maybe is counterproductive, but we'll pay big dollars to have somebody. Right.
So my question is, at this stage in the game for you and your husband, do you guys spend like as much as you can on your credit cards and pay them off every month, or how are you guys managing that process now?
So we do a lot of charity donations at this point. So that's how I meet minimum spends is I actually donate a lot of GeoBreeze stuff. So I'll just like wait until I need a new credit card and then like drop $3,000. And that's how I meet my minimum spends. Obviously not everybody is in that kind of position, but that's how we meet a lot of ours. And that's how I get a lot of my status. But speaking of status, there's a couple quick ways to do that. You don't have to be staying in hotels all the time. A lot of the credit cards will actually come with automatic status. So like the Hilton Aspire, you get automatic top tier Hilton Diamond status. If you have the Capital One Venture X, you get top tier rental car status with Hertz. So you can just walk onto the lot and drive whatever car you want. If you are a business owner, so the top tier status with Hyatt is called globalist status. Normally you need to spend 60 nights in Hyatt over the course of a year to get that. But if you are a business owner with a Hyatt business credit card, if you have $120,000 of expenses anyway, and you put that on the Hyatt business card, then you just get globalist. You basically pay your way to globalist because they will give you like a certain number of elite night credits every time you spend a certain amount of money. And the math works out to $120,000. You can also do this with American Airlines, where if you have $200,000, you can get executive platinum, which is top tier, and then you get upgraded on your American Airlines flights. Or if you spend $125,000, you can get platinum pro status with American Airlines. So just by having these credit cards and putting your spend on them, you can work your way towards status where with Hyatt Globalist, you get a lot of cool perks. You get free breakfast for you and people traveling with you. You get late checkout until 4 p.m. You don't have to pay like resort fees if you're staying in the Bahamas or anything like that. No resort fees, no parking fees, none of that. And a really cool thing is you get to do what's called guest of honor bookings. So if I have globalist status and I want to take my parents somewhere or I want to book a hotel room for them, if I book it out of my account, even if I'm not traveling with them, they're treated as though they have globalist status too. So if you're a business owner with globalist status and you're making bookings for people who are like your sales team or something, they're all treated like they have status, even if they don't actually stay at Hyatt's that much. So guest of honor bookings are great.
Okay. So, dude, like I knew getting her on here was gonna be like one of the best episodes for me, and she is not disappointing. So now my question, asking for a friend again. You mentioned status, and I believe that building a relationship with, one, whatever airline or hotel is important, and as far as getting statuses. If you had to pick your top 2 hotels to get status with and your top 2 airlines to work on status with, who would they be? And then what is the one card you would get if you had to start over?
So I would definitely pick Hyatt status. They're the best hotel right now because they still have rooms that are booked on category. So you always know this one's going to be 12,000 points, or it's generally going to be like 20,000 points. Whereas all of the other hotel chains, major ones, Hilton, IHG, and Marriott, they're revenue based. So the number of points that you're charged is based off of the cash price. So it's harder to get outsized value when it's directly proportional. So I would definitely say Hyatt. And then the secondary one, I have Marriott status. I don't love them. It's just easy for me to get because I have a couple Marriott credit cards, but Hilton status with Diamond is actually a lot more useful. And you can get that really easily with just the Hilton Aspire card.
Hilton Aspire, that's a business card, I'm assuming.
Hilton Aspire is a personal card.
Okay, gotcha.
And then
gyms.
For airline status, if you have a partner that you travel with, Southwest Companion Pass status is fantastic because you get buy one, get one free flights for up to 2 years. You have to make sure you time this correctly. So the strategy is you have to earn 125,000 points in a year, like a calendar year. If you apply for your credit cards in November and December, and then you gain your 125,000 points in November or December, you only get the buy one, get one free for the 2 months and then the calendar year after. But if you wait and meet and you cross the 125 threshold in January or February, then you get like 11 months of buy one, get one and the entire next year. So it's like a whole year difference of buy one, get one. So this one's really, really popular for families. And the strategy is you get one Southwest business card. The sign up bonus is normally 80,000 and then a personal those sign-up bonuses are about 40,000, and then you'll get the other 5,000 just from meeting the minimum spend anyway. So Southwest is going to be the best one, and I have not done a lot with the other airline statuses. The benefits are not that great domestically, but I do have magically gold status with Singapore Airlines, which got me Star Alliance Gold. So that's been really, really useful for getting into United Club access. And in Greece, it came in handy just with Star Alliance for Aegean Airlines that we were flying when we were doing island hopping. So I would look into that as well.
Yeah. So, well, first and foremost, something that we say often on this podcast or just amongst our peer group is that the most expensive thing in the world is the cost of not knowing, right? I'm doing mental gymnastics on how much money I've spent that I didn't have to if I would have known a fraction of the information that I learned on today's podcast. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to say is I almost feel like that would be like a cool calculator, right? Like to show like how much money you end up saving by implementing these strategies like in a calendar year. Like, of course, it would vary from person to person, but like, I think like to just for people to really wrap their head around, like, you need to learn this stuff, right? Like you need to not be intimidated because this is literally how much money you're losing, right? By not understanding this or the experiences that you're missing out on by not knowing how to do stuff. I know I'm going to personally, I don't always go back and listen to all our podcasts. I'm going back and listen to this one.
I think another thing that really costs people from not knowing is like outside of the world of points and sign-up bonuses and all that, a lot of these credit cards come with trip protections. And so some people like this weekend, Delta's already just like thrown in the towel for July 4th weekend. They're like, hey, if anybody wants to take like a flight voucher now, we just know that we're going to cancel a lot of flights. Their Twitter is sad and hilarious. It's hilarious for me. It's sad for anybody who's actually flying Delta this weekend. But these credit cards come with trip protections. So if you have your flight canceled or delayed overnight, you can get like $500 per person on your trip. So if you're a family of 4, you can get $2,000 covered for like food and hotel that night if you're stranded because you can't get home. And you're like, well, we're stuck in Miami. We can't get home. We can't continue on. Chase will pay you $2,000. You just have to make sure you keep all of your receipts and stuff to get reimbursed. But for food and if they lose your luggage, the airline, then you can get reimbursed for lost baggage, get some clothes, go shopping with those different trip protections. So the cost of not knowing that is high because you might not even know that you are able to get reimbursed for when things hit the fan, which they do all the time now for travel.
Who do you reach out to? So your flight, your flight gets delayed 4 hours or it gets canceled to the next day and tell you to go get a room. Do you just go spend the money and then reach out to like Chase, the credit card company, and tell them what happened and then give them the receipts, or do you go to the airline?
I would go to the airline first, but they're probably going to say no because airlines just say no these days. So then I would call Chase and be like, hey, here's the situation. What paperwork are you going to need to get this reimbursed? And so that way you're collecting the paperwork along the way. You don't want to just go spend $600 and be like, pay me back. And they're like, well, you have to fill out this form. And you're like, I didn't collect that from the hotel. So I would call them and say, hey, Chase, here's the situation. We're delayed. I'm going to need to use the trip protections. What do I need to turn into you later to get reimbursed? And then they'll walk you through the process of make sure you have all of these different receipts and fill out this form online.
Wow. That's all you can really say. I mean, this is game-changing, money-saving information. I don't know what else to say. I'm fascinated. I'm intrigued. I'm excited because I might start really taking more advantage, which I should have been doing, honestly. Of all of this, this is just crazy to me in the best way possible.
Yeah, I think it's a reminder of how much power we have as consumers, because I think a lot of times we think, oh, we're just supposed to take like whatever is handed to us. Like in my case, I had, it took Delta like an hour and a half to get my bag off of the flight because they were short on like staff or whatever their reasons were. I don't really care. It took an hour and a half to get my bag at my destination. So I go up to them and I'm like, yo, this is a problem. Like, what's going on? And they were like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll compensate you. We'll send you 20,000 flight miles, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So as a consumer, you really have more power than you realize. Because the lady was there like, look, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. I'm gonna give you these points to compensate you for this. So I think we forget that as consumers, we have a lot of power. And I think this is one of the ways that we can exercise that power, especially with the delayed flights, because flying right now is insane. Every time I've flown in the last like 2 months, my flight has been delayed. And I'm just thinking about how much more money and how many more points I would have if I had known that I was able to have access to this.
It's almost like going back to like, you know, if you have a job, right? And they say, always negotiate your offer. I think as consumers, to Jacqueline's point, we just take what we can get, right? It's just like, oh, well, it is what it is. My flight's delayed, my bag isn't here. And we don't realize like, no, that's not okay, right? And if you use certain cards, you have even more bargaining chips to be able to get incentives and things of that nature. So just like I think the big takeaway is be inquisitive, right? Like ask yourself, is there a better way to do this? Can I get this for cheaper? Can I get it for free? Are there some perks? Instead of just, I need to travel to Florida and I'm staying here and I'm flying here, ask yourself those questions. I think that's almost like the catalyst. And then that's how you can reverse engineer. It's like, okay, well, I'm going here. What credit card company gives you benefits for spending money here and using this airline? And I think like that, even just that ideology can help you start this journey. So, I mean, I would say I don't have any more questions. That would be a lie. But I think if I asked all my questions, we'd be here for another 2 hours. So that being said, Carter, Jacqueline, do you have any last questions that you guys want to ask Julia before we head out of here?
Yeah, I mean, if people want to like, you know, just tap in with you and learn more, what offerings do you have for the people? And I know people are going to listen to this like, yo, all right, I need to tap in with her. Like, what would you tell them to start? Is it your podcast? Is it like, let us know where you think they should start if they want to tap in with you.
Yeah, podcast episode 1 is going to be like Points and Miles 101 of what is this even? And then going on from there and listening to episodes that you would find interesting just based off of the title. A lot of them are based on specific destinations that you might want to go to. Instagram is where you're going to find me hanging out most of the time. I also have a highlight reel that says start here. So that'll link you to all of the different resources, mostly the free resources. Sign up for the newsletter. I have the free hotel upgrade template that you can download. So another trick that people don't know about, you can write to hotels in advance, especially if you're celebrating a honeymoon or an anniversary or birthday or something, and just use the template that I have linked for free on my Instagram. And
I'm celebrating a honeymoon every time I travel now.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many anniversaries people have in a year when they start doing this. But yeah, that's a good resource for people. If you are curious on like, hey, what's the best credit card for me? Because here's my personal situation with like businesses or personal or cards you already have. I do free credit card consultations at geobreezetravel.com/consultations. They are free. If you have questions on like best ways to redeem points and stuff, that's where I start charging. But also, please note, never apply for a credit card through Google. Like always use somebody's affiliate links or somebody's referral links, because if you apply through Google, the banks don't have to pay anybody and the banks have enough money. And that is how a lot of creators are able to give out so much of this content for free. Is we're mostly paid through people using our affiliate links. So if anybody is interested in credit cards, my links are at geobreezetravel.com/cards.
Simple enough. Well, I feel like we owe you for this. I feel like this should be a private podcast, but you know, hey, you know, thank God for generous people like you who share this phenomenal game freely so that our listeners, you know, whether you're in the Melanin Millionaires Club or not, can get some really, really impactful gems. And, you know, I don't know if it's sad to say, but, you know, I think you're going to see an influx of listeners because you're going to take all of our listeners because they're like, well, I don't know what Carter, George, and Jacqueline was talking about, but I'm about to go in on learning these points. But now, all jokes aside, guys, definitely tap in with her podcast. She's provides so much game on the podcast, on Instagram, everywhere. But her growth is reflective of that. because of the value that she provides. And so we're so grateful that you took time to hang out with us virtually. Can't wait to see you in person again. It's been, I guess, since September, right, of last year. So we can't wait to hang out with you again sometime soon. And thank you just so much for all the valuable insights that you shared.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was great.
We appreciate you.
Until next time, guys. Peace.